All right. I think we're live.
We are live. Musty Wargamers Season 6, Episode 3.
Howdy,
Hello,
everybody.
Is it really Season 6?
Season 6. We're getting old.
Oh, yeah.
Older.
That's right.
The first season was only half a season, but still.
Crazy.
But still.
It was still a season.
So if everybody has not figured out, we have Mr. Dan Buman in the house tonight. Special guest. Thank you, Dan, for joining Rusty and I.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always nice to chat. I know when it's going on, I'm usually trying to paint, and it's hard to paint and type, so you can't really interact the way you maybe like to. But so yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I know that you said that you came down with something a little bit, so you'll have to. We won't try to get you too excited today. Keep it kind of
level.
That's right.
There you go.
So
what he's doing is sitting in his ice cold bunker in the basement, shivering away in the iceberg.
It is cold, but I got a little space heater on my feet, so I'm okay.
Good deal. So
now, it's like I am getting cold air. It's like I got my window right here. It's right above my desk, and I got it's like a piece of styrofoam and some cardboard stuffed up into the windowsill to keep the cold air from coming in. And I still feel it right now.
Yeah, unless the window's 6 inches thick, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. It's like I sitting down here today, and I was doing a little bit of work on these BattleTech miniatures, and I was like, man, it's like I almost feel like I'm feeling the breeze here because it is a convection current coming in.
BattleTech
coming down the window. I was like, man, this is cold.
Yeah.
And then after being outside for an hour shoveling snow, it was bad enough.
Looks like we do have Brad, Lord Draconum, in the house. Thanks for joining us, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah, it'd help if I put the comments up. Yeah, I told Brad that we were about ready to go live before you sent me the link. So,
good deal. So, why don't we do our normal roundtable of what we've been doing hobby-wise, either and or painting and or gaming, and if anybody is wetting their whistle with a musty drink tonight, what they're having and just what's going on. And so, you want to just go starting with Rusty clockwise on the screen?
All right. Okay. Let's see. The last time I was working on these guys. That's those Votan miniatures.
Yeah.
For the
Warhammer.
The 40K squats.
Is that what was in your last video?
Yeah, that's what I was working on. These guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I got all those done, and I have 5 more of those miniatures to work on. So I got these bikes that I'm working on.
So are these for you, or are you doing them for somebody?
It's for Jesse, who's he pops in every once in a while to the live streams. It's his stuff.
Okay.
So I've got to work on that. So I have 3 bikes, and this guy's in exo armor. If anybody remembers the old squats, exo armor guys.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting is here's a Space Marine, and here is a squat.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But what generation of Space Marines that?
This is the previous. This is not the Primaris Space Marine.
Yeah.
This is what I consider Space Marines.
Yeah, like what we would all consider a Space Marine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like these squats are not squats.
Yeah.
They're big. So I have those to work on, and then I have 16 BattleTech miniatures. I was working on today. I got all the black and the highlights of the black done today, since I wasn't going outside and doing anything today.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And other than this morning, I was like out there and I shoveled the sidewalk and all that and dug out from our big storm that hit. Now we got the 50-mile-an-hour winds rattling the house. It's like when I got on, I was talking to Palmer here. He said, "Was that? Did you hear that whistling sound or something going on?" That's the wind. That's the wind.
Yeah,
It's
it's blowing.
it's whistling outside. It's like terrible.
Yeah, it
So,
is not good.
yeah, it's like I can't imagine spending all your time outside working on doing the chores. And well, I know what it's like because I've done it before. But
It was easier 10 years ago when I was a little bit younger. Yeah,
yeah, it's
wear
like
a lot of clothes and move out.
I broke out I had the coveralls. I had my wool on, then my coveralls over top of that. I was warm, but it's like the area around your face, what isn't that is exposed, is like, oh boy,
Yeah,
that's nippy.
that's nippy's the word. So, have you gotten any gaming in or no?
We played. Well, at the video went out on Monday. We had Battle Valor game, the 15 mil.
Okay, yep, I did watch that. Yeah,
That was the Orcs versus the Saurians.
yeah,
The Saurian army was a 3D printed army.
yeah.
One of the guys that's in the group, he's got a Elegoo printer, and he made those miniatures himself. He designed them.
Oh, really? Because I was trying to decide what line they were. They didn't look like that.
No, he
There's a
made them.
couple. Okay.
I looked at him and was like, wow, these are good. So where'd you get them? He said, I designed them myself.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
like, that's what he does. He's works for a manufacturing company, does CAD work and all that. So
Oh, yeah. Well, that'd be up his
he
alley.
says, well, I'm not doing a project for the factory. He's like, I'm in there drawing stuff. It's like,
yeah.
Just wanted to just mention Dred from Solvent Abuse is in the house, and he'd stop by. And so just, hey, Dred, great to have you stopping in. We're just getting started with the show. It's great. I know you're over. It must be pretty late over there, late or early, depending on how you define that.
I'd say it's about probably 3 a.m. over there.
Yeah, I was thinking it's pretty late. So, so Rusty, I know that you were gaming, doing some gaming. Yeah, you just mentioned the 3D printed miniatures that you talked about, the design ones. That was the 15 mil game. Yeah.
Battle Valor.
Yeah, Battle Valor. You have that up on your your website, the YouTube page. Yeah.
Yep. Pump that out. I almost forgot to put it together. It was like at 1 a.m. I was sitting there going, I was like, do I go to bed? And I'm like, oh man, I haven't put that video together yet. So it's like I was just lucky I was able to render it and pump it out really quick and uploaded it. It was like, wow, that's the processing. Sometimes uploading doesn't take very long, but sometimes the processing can take an hour or two online, as you know. But
there you go. Yeah,
Jameson tonight. I was
That's
like,
your musty drink.
Yep. I was like sitting there looking, going, what do I want to have? And I was like looking through. Do I want red breast? I don't feel like red breast tonight. Oh, behind the red breast is Jameson.
Hey, Tim's in the house.
I was watching.
Yeah.
He just uploaded. Tim just uploaded a video tonight of his latest. I think it's episode 5, I believe. And I was like watching it before you sent me the link. So.
Cool.
Good deal.
So I have to finish that video and then make my comments. So it's like Broken Dice. If you guys haven't seen his channel, check it out. Shout out.
Yeah, he does some nice stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And he's doing a great battle right now where it's the Romans versus the Iberians.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm an episode behind on that, I think, too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
so how about you, Dan? What's going on with your hobby stuff for playing, or what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, for me, I've been, you know me, I get in my rut and I stay focused and online and on point. So I'm still actually working on my bolt action Soviets, World War II Soviets. I think I started the project very tail end of February.
Okay.
And I've just been working on it. And what I do, I don't build for a specific 1,000-point list. Because I don't really get burned out on it. I just enjoy sticking in a project like that. So I'm like, well, I need, I want this unit and that unit enough that I could field. Basically I'm setting up like a store where I can just pick off the shelf what I want for that day.
Yeah.
And I've been collecting the miniatures over the last about 4 or 5 years, and so then I just plowing through the pile. But I'm just about to the very tail end of that. So I've been steadily working on it. I think I've painted over 100 and probably close to 130 Soviet infantry so far.
That's impressive.
And just and painting them. I'm doing usually kind of a squad at a time, or whatever the squad size is, but a lot of times around 8 or 10, 12 at the most in a batch kind of. But again, I'm trying to paint them to the to a standard that I'll be happy with 5 years from now. So I'm taking my time and enjoying the process, and so that's been really fun. As I'm nearing the end of that, I can see I'm close. I would think by for sure the end of January, beginning of February, I'll kind of have that wrapped up, and then my next thing will be starting on my table. I'm going to have a full Stalingrad table that I've been collecting up what I need for that. So I've got a few pieces primed that I'll be ready to start messing with that, and then I've been kind of trying to decide since again I don't just do something for a bit. What's my next thing? Originally, I kind of thought I'd launch onto the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, or Middle Earth strategy battle game, because I've got, as Rusty knows, I've got a high elf, but it'd be what they call them, the Alliance elves, I guess, in the game.
Yeah.
And I've started because I got that very first green box set that came out.
Oh yeah,
with the first movie, and it had that in it, and it had the goblins. And then through the years, I'd bought things to bulk those out. But anyway, long story short, I've been working towards a 500 to 700 point force, and I only need a few miniatures on each side painted to finish that up. Started that project actually when that box set came out, so it'd be 20 years later. So either that, or I've gotten kind of revved to jump back on my Bretonians also. So I don't know. I'm kind of waffling on that a little bit yet, but no gaming in. That's always kind of been the story out here. The few gaming guys that I've got, I mean, there's no local club or game store to go down to. And I'm trying to get over to Rusty's here before spring again. My turn to head over to his place. So we'll play something, and then my local friend, he's got a lot of things going on. So anyway, haven't actually played a game since last June.
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to get together in July and never did.
Yeah, and then our vacation ended up being earlier this year, and then my harvest was messed up. It's just I still got, and then I had a new grandchild born here this summer. So
right. Congrats on that.
Yeah, thanks. That's been more fun than I could have imagined. So that's eaten up a lot of my time in a good way. But I've still been painting nearly every night for at least a half hour. So, and I'm very, very enthused, not burned out, but I haven't put up any videos probably since last March. Also, just with the limited time, I think Palmer, you've said the same thing too. Sometimes it's, I'm not doing it to try to get to any amount of subscribers, and it was always just kind of my own thing. And I'm spending my time when I get hobby time to sit and paint and just relax instead of. Not that I make high quality videos, but it takes some time and effort, and so I haven't felt the urge to do it. I mean, I do once in a while, but not enough to actually move forward. But I'm hoping to do some again, because I know some people are wondering what's all happening. It's just fun to share. So.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. I've had stretches recently like that too, where I don't play for a really long time. I think because I've enjoyed the Marvel game, and it's a skirmish game, and one of my friends that I play that with, were able to kind of whip that game like that together really easily. And he's local, and he's on the Musty page too. I could call that as getting some gaming in, but yeah, no, I've had stretches like that as well, both with videos and also gaming.
I'm dying to get some games in, and I know I will. It's always just nice to get the stuff painted, because that's what takes time. Then all of a sudden, if I get a chance to get a game in, boom, I've got my stuff ready to go, as opposed to like, give me a couple months and we'll try again.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the playing the games for me, it's what motivates me to paint a lot of times.
Yep.
So
I just enjoy the relaxing creativity part, which we've talked about before. It's just like my happy place to just, and only have to please myself and nobody else. And
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch as you feel like you're getting better at what you're doing and developing your skills. So yeah, it's just enjoyable. And I always build armies with a kind of a focus of a game. Otherwise, you're just randomly picking. It gives me I'm collecting bolt action Soviets. Well, what's in that army and how many guys are in a squad, and so you it gives you some direction. But not that you feel restrained by that, but gives you some direction.
Yep. Yeah, well, for me, I'm working on my miniatures tonight, and I should be done with them. They're basically done. They're kind of shiny right now because I haven't put a varnish on them, but I do need to. I want to put some rust effects on the weapons like I have with my other ones, and then possibly just some turf on here. The ones that I had like these, I used like a Harvest Gold turf on the green, but I'll probably do the same to match them. But then they're basically done, and so I'm working on them tonight. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing lately, and I don't think you guys could probably see this because they're not painted. And my camera that I had before that I showed things up close really would mess with my microphone.
Make your screen big, Palmer.
Yeah.
There we go.
These are actually skeletons in like the old Rogue Trader Space Marine armor. You can see the foot there, how it's just like a thin leg, but then so they're basically skeletons.
No way.
The detail is really cool, but you can't really see it here. And then also I have like from the same designer some old 1950s kind of retro spacemen that also came out really crisp and kind of nice, but it's hard to see them. But so I've been doing this with the anticipation of playing this that I picked up, and we talked about it on the last Musty Wargamers, but I got Xenos Rampant.
Oh yeah.
And really nice hardcover, cool volume. I like Dragon Rampant, I still do. And I think for like that style of game, it works really well, but I always felt like there could be a little more, like, added, and like, it's such a cool system. Like they could do a little more, even though I've always had a fun game with it. But I'll tell you, this is what I was asking for. Although it's sci-fi and it's not fantasy, like it's not like big battle fantasy style, it's sci-fi skirmish. It actually has the more that I was kind of hoping for. And they've really, I think so far from what I've seen, done an amazing job with this. I've not played it yet, so I can't say for sure, but and it's one of the reasons why I'm printing out these I'm doing like a bit of an undead space kind of army. And I think although I have that one unit of like the Space Marines, I'm primarily, I've got some files of skeletons and regular space outfits, like just like this is the one I just showed, but it's basically I have some skeleton. They're basically the same designer, but inside here they're basically skeletons. They're dead, like just back to life. And so I'm doing that kind of theme force, which is different for me. Like I've never done one like that before. So I'm enjoying that. And then I've been fortunate because we have a bit of a gaming group that's come together to play 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles. And so there's a few of us playing now, and I've probably played two, like a 750 point game, 1,000 point game. And then on last Saturday, we had a bit of a get together, and it was an all day event. And we had 4 of us each with 2,000 points, and we were paired. And it was like, we played, I was on the long half of the table, the wide half of the table. And then who I was with on the same team was on the other side of the table facing me. And then the two were on each side of the long table, and you had to capture objectives and fight and duke it out. And it was just a mass battle. It was like basically lizard men and wood elves versus orcs and goblins and beast men. And it was just a lot of fun. Like I really enjoyed it. So that was really cool to be playing that. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. So I'm kind of really enjoying the Warhammer Fantasy battles again. And then I'm looking forward to the Xenos Rampant for some sci-fi kind of skirmish kind of stuff. So it's not even like skirmish, like they're units of 5, like each unit has 5 figures to 10 figures. So it is actually a bit bigger, than just what I normally think of in today's terms of skirmish. I know people have different opinions of that, but so there's that. And I'm starting out the evening in our chatting and just having a Sapporo, but I probably based on how long our shows generally go for, I probably will have something else to show after that. And so, but yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing, but I've been having fun with the hobby again. Oh, I showed this on the last show, but one of the next things I'm going to be painting up is these old style dragon ogres. I should just focus in.
Yeah, you've been working on those. Yeah, getting them.
Yeah, so I have one more to assemble, but I'm going to be doing a unit of 3 for my Beastmen army and using the old style, like the original dragon ogres. And I did customize one with a bit of a mace, and then the other one's like this. And yeah, like I'm really looking forward to painting these guys up. I love this model. It's just intensely awesome.
When were those released?
Late 80s. I don't know which
I was gonna say,
year. Yeah, it's like 87 to 89, I think, in that area.
That's old stuff. Nice.
They just look so sinister looking. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing goofy about them other than the fact that it's a humanoid on a big lizard. But they're like really, when you get in there with the snaggletooth, they look like old kind of goblin orcish looking in the face. Like they just look really evil looking, and I love the look of them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good find.
So yeah, so that's about it on my side.
What's left on your Beastman army to paint?
You know, I have some odds and ends. Like I have Centaurs that I've never painted. I have to fill out the ranks with I have like 30 more. I painted 20 Bestigors and I need to paint 30 more. So I'll have a big block of 50. And I have like 15 old school, the Bob Ollie Beastmen still to paint that, or the Xanagors. I have some Ungors that are just skirmishers, like they were marketed and they're fielded as skirmishers, not as ranked. So they're their own models. I have a bunch of characters, like I have a bunch of the actual characters to paint. And then beyond that, I'm getting really close. Like after the Dragon Ogres, like I'm getting really close to finally kind of completing them after that. And so I with my length of time, I probably have at least, if I'm lucky, I have another year of painting because I usually mix in other things, in the middle. I probably will be close in a year, maybe. That would be nothing for some people. They would just be like, oh, I'd be done next month with that, But like for me, I know it'll take me longer.
Yeah.
And then, the question is after that is what I do. I mean, I have Orcs and Goblins. I have an Orcs and Goblin army in existence that I can add to, but I've been kind of wanting to start from scratch that High Elf army. That's old school High Elf army that I purchased a number of years ago. It's probably 3 years ago that I started purchasing for it. And so that's kind of like what you were talking about, earlier, where you purchased something like a number of years ago and added. And it's like this project for the future.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Hoping a piano doesn't fall on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like one of those things you can slow build it with when you kind of come across some deals, or some trades once in a while. And pretty soon you kind of got there with, you're patient.
Yeah, exactly. I know we've got a number of comments, a lot of them kind of hellos, although some of the ones that were not just kind of hellos to each other, I'm just going to throw up here. Brad says he's still working on his finish. He wants to get them going, though I have medieval and Battletech to do. So I know he's got a lot of stuff on the go.
Yeah, he's got 15 mil Arthurian stuff that he's working on. We talk a lot about the Battletech stuff.
What's his finish stuff for? Is it 28 millimeter? Or
yeah, it's Flames of War. Well, Flames of War 15s.
So it's 15 or 20 or whatever there.
I think it's 15.
I think Brad was referring to your comments about the Lord of the Rings and saying that Rivendell.
Yeah, Rivendell. That's what the faction's called. He's right. Yep. Thank you.
Chris says that he has been painting lots as it's way too cold outside. You're probably in the same weather pattern as me, Chris, because we were just talking before the show. Like it's close to negative 30 here. It's been in the low negative 30s, but it's actually like I think negative 28 or something like that right now. It's really pretty. It's really cold. Feeling really cold. I appreciate. I know I talked to Chris a bit because he's much more knowledgeable about 3D printing than I am, and so all along the way I think since my first filament printer I've been chatting with him about printing, and then when I got my resin I would keep touching base into him every time I'm learning something new, getting his advice. I actually did some stuff where I changed my computer, my PC, and it had my 3D printing software on it with all my settings, and I got all wiped out, and I got to a clean slate. And when I reloaded everything, I was making some mistakes, overexposing my stuff. So I couldn't actually get the supports off without destroying the model. I have a bunch of those guys, and I might just use it as battle damage, but I have a bunch of those guys I just showed that I did a fair bit of damage to and trying to remove their supports because I was overexposed on them.
I'm getting the urge to do 3D printing again now. Gosh dang it. I kind of been looking at that Hallett 1 is some it looks like it's a good beginning printer.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe Chris being here could chime in if he knows the brand. I actually, I guess I'm kind of pigeonholed in what I do. Like I know there's the Photon, I think, or something that's like a very popular one that was more popular than the Elegoo. Had a comparable offering, but I went with the Elegoo. But I don't know enough about all the others. But I know I've seen other brands print really well as well, like, on videos and stuff. Looks like, well, Chris will probably chime in. I know there's comments coming in, but I'll be honest with you. I'm enjoying this style printer so much that I could see down the road doing what most people do and sizing up eventually, like to the one, because
bigger plate.
I'm bigger, and in this case, it's like it is a bigger plate. Like it's a bigger
more height too.
Yeah, the height isn't really so much an issue on these for me. It's just it is the width and the depth.
The plate size. Yeah,
it's the vat and which ultimately is the plate underneath that shines the light in the pattern for resin. That you're only getting that to work with. And now that I'm doing 28 stuff, which I initially got into this to do like 6 to 8 millimeter. And I still will. And in all honesty, I could probably still use this one for years and have no problem. But I like it so much. Like I find that I struggled a lot more with the filament. Like I found it was a bit more of an art form to get it mechanically to work the way you wanted it to. There was a lot more adjustments and a lot more room for clogging of filament and just lots of things I was showing Rusty, my daughter actually made a design for a French Indian War watermill house. Like, and she actually made this in, I forget the name of the software, but it's the one they use for like animation.
So you using CAD or was it?
No, she was using one that you can sculpt people and stuff. I mean, like even though it's a house and it's very 2-dimensional, she actually sculpts like and knows how to do like organic looking stuff. And so she did this and it looks really good. I mean, she's never done a house before. It's like a simple wargaming house, but it's got the water wheel and everything. And I'm gonna, because of its size, I have to use the filament printer on it. So I'm gonna have to kind of dust off my skills because it is intimidating to go back to it.
Yeah.
Knowing how many problems I have personally had to get things, it was not set it and forget it. Where the thing that I like about the resin is not just the final product, but I found that I really don't have nearly as many problems like as I had with the other. It was so much easier. And like I literally printed, right out of the box, they give you a sample to print. And like I just printed it right away. Like it was like being new to it. I was able to print something.
Yeah, I hear that commonly. How did you pick a resin? That's the other thing. I'm like, you look at everybody, oh, this is the one to use, and this is why. And I'm like, how do you know?
Well, and it's funny. Like, I know I didn't. We're kind of zooming into 3D printing as a discussion point tonight, but
sorry.
this is the no. It's good. I like it. I mean, it's just part of what I'm doing. But, yeah, this is the chess piece, like with the Elegoo. You can see it written there that you get to print, and I printed this right off the bat. I initially chose both my friend that got into it at the same time as me and I both chose the Elegoo water washable one because we just thought, it'd be great if we could just use water. And we use that and it's a nice resin. Like I could have stayed with that and been completely happy and just used water. But for whatever reason, Chris recommended actually to me a type of resin. It's called Sierra Tech. And it's called ABS like. So it's basically a harder, it's technically supposed to be a bit of a harder resin. So for gaming pieces on a table could be quite good. I really liked working with the isopropyl alcohol as a cleaning agent, as the traditional cleaning agent, for it a little bit more than water. And I liked the results that I got with it. They both gave good results. And I can't say that it's like significantly better than the water one with Elegoo as far as the results, but in the end with the cleaning and everything, I just had a bit of it just seemed like a crisper experience with the working with the alcohol. And so I stayed with it.
Okay.
And so you might get mixed results on people's comments on that. And so we have actually some comments on both 3D printing and other stuff. Brad says, I've got Marvel Crisis Protocol on the back burning as well. I want to get more 15mm Arthurian figures when I'm done with what I have. Love the Marvel Crisis Protocol. I love that game. It's a lot of fun. -45 snapped 2 nights ago. My wife had frostbite cases in the hospital tonight. It's warmed up to -35. So you're a bit colder than me right now. I like my Saturns. I want the new 8000. I didn't realize. I didn't even realize there was a.
Yeah, that just came out.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's like you could still get 2Ks, and they claim that you can't, if you have your settings and resin right, you can't tell a lot of difference between, like for a 28mm miniature between a 2 and a 4. So don't spend the extra money on the 4. And I'm like, I don't. The more you look into it, the more confused I get.
I'll tell you though, like if you look at what people were spending on filament printers like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
And then you're looking at what you can get, let's say on a 2K on a resin printer today. I mean, the experience you can get, like getting into 3D printing and how soon you can get a detailed miniature, like even like a 20mm model for the price point, it's really good right now.
It's really come down.
Yeah.
It's like less than $200 in some cases for the machine, not the resin and stuff. And they're for popular, models. Yeah, there's some newer ones, but they're still out there,
Absolutely.
So
I was looking at today on Amazon. It's like you can get an 8K for like $479, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't even know what brand that is. I've never heard of that.
Elegoo.
Oh, an Elegoo.
Yeah.
You said 8K. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said 8K, like AK-47 or something.
Oh.
No, I still have the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. That's the one I got, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
They had. It was really tempting is when they had the Black Friday sale and they had everything.
Yeah, you said that and you didn't do it.
I didn't do it. It's like now everything went up $100 or so, and it's like I think it was like $279. I could have got a regular the Elegoo, and it's like, wow.
Looks like Mel is in the house.
Well, Mel's there. Sweet.
Yep.
So Chris says I've got 3 Saturns now.
Huh.
As far as the software goes, he says Blender maybe. I think you're right. I think that's the one she's using. Yeah, she learned how to use it in school. She actually took a class in high school on animation and learned the basics, and she really took to it. And
back in the day when I was in high school, we just learned how to make something print out.
We just had shop class. Woodworking.
I was playing Oregon Trail in the computer when I was in high school.
It was like the big thing I learned that I programmed in college was taking a laser disc and interacting it with a computer to interactive class. That was the extent of my programming. So
that's high tech.
I just remember like 10 go to 20, like like all of the basic
the
language,
programming.
Yeah. C and C plus and
Mel says he's finally made it. And first printer was $1,200, Chris says. So mine was $800. And so, but you got into it before me, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's almost crazy now, like the value you get when you spend like, let's say $200 to $300 on a resin printer and like what you can do with it if you use it. The value is just so high, in my opinion, like in comparison.
How sturdy would you say the miniatures are? That's my other concern. I'm like, you know, because some people are like, oh, you end up with broken spears and you end swords, and some of them they don't mind. They just glue it back on, or they print another one. They don't care. But you know, I'm thinking, you know, that's one thing where sometimes you kind of fall back on metal minis. It's like,
well, let me show you this.
You know,
this is one that
much sturdier.
This is one that. So I'm just going to show you something. I don't doubt that there's situations where things are really thin, and you know, depending on the way, because you actually, depending on how you expose it, it's going to be tougher in the resin. But this is an ABS resin that's like a hard resin, and I'm actually putting pressure on here. Like, I'm not sure if you can hear. Can you hear this? Just because I got headphones on, but can you hear me scratching this?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm scratching this. This is a bayonet, and I'm scratching this.
And it's fairly finely detailed bayonet.
Yeah, actually, listen to this. I'm going to put this up to the microphone if you can hear it.
Yeah.
I'm actually running my hand very hard over this, and it's not breaking.
Okay.
However,
so not like those BattleTech miniatures I got last year, where they you hit any piece like that, you just put any pressure on it, snap.
Yeah, see, and people say, well, they're getting stuff off of Etsy that's resin 3D printed, and some of them are really happy, and some of them like, well, yeah, half of them came broken, or some of them came broken, but they replaced them. And I thought, well, I don't want to have to walk around on, you know, with tissues holding them. So I'm nervous about that.
The only thing I would say is, if you've got spearmen, like this is a bayonet, and so the bayonet that I was scratching very hard with my finger that wasn't breaking laterally on the thin side is still only 2/8 of an inch long. Like, you know, like and it is a little wide, but it's very thin. Like it's still like a bayonet that's very thin.
Right.
I could imagine that anytime you have a spear like that's just thin and going all the way up, that if you know, it's like a plastic miniature. I mean, like,
they'll eventually
miniatures are going to break,
right.
You know, and so, you know, if you're wanting it to bend like metal, you know, it's not going to happen, you know, like bending a metal spear. So I think personally that you may still deal with a little bit of that, but the one thing that you know, like, resin's not nothing as far as price, but the price, like the price of a miniature with the Vata resin is negligible. It's nothing. And so, like, you can just print it right off. Now, granted, you've painted it already, and I get that, you know, but I think it's worth it in the end. And I think the majority of your miniature, like many of your miniatures, are going to be like swordsmen, and it's not going to be an issue, you know. And, you know, like, I think it would still be very good. And I think, like, depending on what you decide to do, I know you're already committed with your models for like World War II, but if you were, gosh, you know what I think I did is I think I actually cut my finger on that. Like, not to the blood, but I lifted up some skin by actually going that hard on that bayonet. It's crazy. Like, I'm not sure, if you could see that, but
well, like Chris says in the comments, it can depend on your settings, curing, and also the resin you choose, which I've seen some YouTube things I've watched. They'll show these different resins, and they'll show some, you know, are really hard and solid, but they're a little more brittle, and some are like really bendy, but they don't hold the detail as well. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things that I wish there was like 3 you choose from, but there's like so many to choose from that
you had figured out before you had it. There's some that are just vastly more popular than others, and if you just go to the ones that people are primarily using, you're going to get a few choices, you know. And you know, to be honest, choosing a bottle of one isn't a huge commitment. Like, you'll print a bunch of stuff up, but you'll be surprised how fast you can go through it.
That's
true. Then you just choose a different one, you know. And I've already done that. I've changed to a couple. Like, I've used 2 different ones. I've not had to use one after the second. But
I was just looking today. It was like $15 for 1,000 grams of resin.
And some are like more towards the $40, $50, but 30 to 50 seems common.
I don't know. Sometimes it depends on if they're translucent or colored, you know, then you start getting
spendy. Chris says, tell her I will hire her.
Your daughter.
And she actually she's going into college for.
Oh, did we lose him?
I think he froze up.
He's been kind of wanting to freeze.
Sorry, guys. I think I froze there.
You froze.
You did.
Sorry,
It's cold.
I was gonna mention that she's actually equally interested in the arts and animation and stuff, but she's gonna start in a science program, but she may, in the future, kind of still do animation. But she loves it. Like that's kind of what she's interested in, and so
Cool.
Yeah, I remember getting this thing called email in grade 12.
Yeah.
We didn't have email when I was in grade 12.
Yeah, we didn't have computers.
Like, we had Apple II computers. That was the extent.
Apple II was what we had, and there's like 8 of them for the whole school.
Yeah.
Brad says his Creality CR10S, which is what I have too, was 800. And so I got the same one he had because I saw what he was doing actually with it, and then I got mine. I'm actually still happy with my Creality as far as what I got for it, but as far as the technology goes, I do find this other one to be a lot easier.
Well, they'll only get better, and cheaper. It depends when you want to jump in. Yeah,
true. And that's the hard thing is you can almost never jump on, because they're always changing and
a year from now you'll be like, oh, I could have waited. That'll be
a great example. Is that a year ago you had the Saturns just came out. I think it was the first Saturn, and that was like $600, and now that same one you can get for around $300. So they're coming down. It's just.
In general, you can find a good one that's under $300 and probably be happy with it for a miniature gamer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted just to have a small plate, you got a Mars.
Yeah, I have the Elegoo Mars 2P.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can pick those up for cheap now.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, you have to kind of, I guess, look at what you want to do with it, and then you have to look at the outcome of what you can get with it. And I mean, the reality is you can do so well, like with the one that I have even now, like with miniatures and detail and print stuff that people are doing right now, that, for like 300, even if you looked at it like as an experiment for $300, which for many people, that's like getting a box set for like a game,
oh yeah,
which really, that's an expensive box set, but it's not much less. I mean, like, for $300, you could basically start printing your own miniatures, learn how to do something new, and completely
which has value.
Get into it, like, and be printing stuff off. And then, like, if you decided in a year, to go upgrade or even in 2 years to upgrade to something better, like what was the loss really? I mean, like, in all honesty, for that price point, it's negligible, really.
So do you do subscription or what do they call it? Like the Patreons, or like or do you just pick files here and there, or what?
It's an interesting you asked me that, because up until now, although I have actually for the other printer, I actually have purchased files like from someone for really cheap. I most of what I've done was been free. But up until now, I just this last weekend for the first time subscribed to somebody's Patreon to have access to their catalog. And the guys that I just showed you, those were free examples, but I actually have access to get like units of 10 of all different types of all different things that he's done. You have to become a patron, and you have access to an entire catalog as long as you're a patron. And so you could just go for like a month and just grab everything you want and then just stop, but I probably won't do that. I'll probably just let it go for a little bit. And it's really reasonably priced, and there's just so much that he does, but you can go either way. I mean, I started by not doing that stuff really, but only because I'm seriously looking at building out some forces that I actually subscribe. And it was only to one person I've ever done that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. What thinking about is if I get like either a Mars or a low Saturn, and they're the the Lost Kingdom miniatures.
Yeah,
you can just buy the ones that you want, the files, and then print them off.
Yeah,
and they have all the darkness ones, which is the Chaos Dwarf, or you can go with the Dark Elves or whatever, orcs, or goblins, hobgoblins, and I'm like, it's like. I could seriously see myself just printing off an entire army and then painting it up.
Right.
The other cool thing about 3D printing is you can adjust slightly the scale.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them you can go 15 to 28s and stuff but even just, you know how it is, even when you buy 28s and you want to mix them in with what you have, you know, inevitably it's like, well, from this range, they're a small 28, or they're heroic 28s, and, you know, and they don't look right side by side, but just a little tweaking, they would look choice.
You absolutely can do that. You can absolutely do that. And I'll tell you, depending on like what your creative process is, like, because I'm using some retro looking miniatures and some Rogue Trader-esque miniatures, if you remember, the original Rhinos and the original Land Raiders were very undetailed compared to like what came out later. Extremely. And I'm actually tempted, for aesthetic reasons, to take some 6 to 15 mil vehicles that are less detailed by their design and blowing them up to 28 mil, only to have them have that look, like basically to have that retro look. And I actually think it would look kind of cool, but personally,
that'd be cool.
Yeah. You're showing something, Rusty? Yeah, this is what you were showing, like the.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. I showed, this is that bull render. This is the bull render Lord. This is from Lost Kingdom.
Okay.
Nice.
And it's like I'm not sure. He scales up pretty big compared to the other ones. He's like, you know, that's his axe right there.
That's neat. And
this is the Forge World miniature. And now I'm just thinking, for what I paid for this Forge World miniature way back in the day, it's like for my Chaos Army.
Yeah.
That thing, there's a lot of detail in this thing, but man, it's like, you just think how I could be bought the printer, and now I can just print these things off. Crazy.
Looks like the Robe has joined us in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the Robe.
Hello.
Yeah, Todd.
And so there's lots of cool stuff, for sure. I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun, but it is a hobby as well. And you have to kind of,
it'll be a time sink a little bit, but
making
really
miniatures is
it's really intriguing though.
Making miniatures is still fun though. I mean, it's not like, I know it's not like playing video games.
Yeah.
You know, like I know you
got me there. Well, yeah, it's just, when everybody's got a certain amount of time, and how do you want to spend it, and that's kind of how I decide. But and the next question is on the 3D printing. At what point? And I want to get into the ethical question here, but when could you start like scanning a miniature and then printing it?
It's already It's here.
But as a home consumer, I mean, could you take a? Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, it is.
So have you done it? You sound like pretty confident on that.
No, I know the guy that actually makes the miniatures that I just showed you on his Patreon. He showed his scanner that he had at home, and like how you can scan, and like, so I don't know. I haven't looked at the price point yet, but I do know that Chris could chime in, but I do know that it's basically arrived. I mean, and the price points of that are probably coming down too.
I wonder why you don't hear more about that, because then you could print out like all my old Bretonian stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
The metal minis, and I would have no. Well, I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, my first reaction would be, I don't see anything wrong with the old Perry metal ones that are long out of production.
Yeah.
The molds are gone, other than for the collectors that think they have an investment. And even then, you'd have a resin copy, and everybody would know that, so that's fine. But that'd be kind of cool.
And at the end of the day, if you're just having like, I mean, like, this is a touchy area, I know, but if you just have them on your table and you're just going against like Rusty,
which is all I would do.
Yeah, like if you're not like putting them up on Facebook and trying to sell stuff or whatever, then you gotta ask the question as to who even.
I don't think anybody would care then. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
It's here. I'm not totally certain that I don't already have within my possession files that were scanned of the original Rogue Trader Space Marines. Like, I don't know.
I wondered if that's where they were coming up with that stuff. Yeah.
Well, in all honesty, I have a feeling that I don't know for sure. Like I
Right.
don't know for sure. But damn, they're close. If
Yeah.
they're
They
not,
look
you know,
awful
because I don't
cool.
have the real ones to put side by side.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
But these are like from like the late '80s, right?
Let's see.
Yeah.
They do look like the plastic ones, the ones you could get 30 of them in a box for
Yeah.
$20.
But I have some files of the ones that were metal releases.
Mhm.
So Chris says they can be delicate, depends on curing and the settings. I find also the resin. He says he replaces spears and pikes brass or brush bristles. Brad says some people mix resins. I don't cure. I just wash well, prime, and paint. So I guess you're confident in the curing that happens as part of the design process. I've been curing like using the cure station, and I find, at least with my settings, that they come out a bit tougher. Like you know, you could also equate that hardness with brittleness too, because anything, although as you could just saw, I really went to town on that bayonet with my finger and it didn't break. But I guess I've liked the process of the curing just based on my settings. But Chris knows more than I do, so maybe when he makes them,
Well,
he does it in a way that you don't need to do that.
Don't rock the boat if it's working, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. Waiting on the Jupiter to lower in price. So I thought I heard something about a Jupiter. Is that
gonna
like
be out of planets?
even bigger, right?
Yeah.
It's like huge. Where do you go after that? Now you have to start going outside the solar system.
Well, then you got Uranus, and then you got Neptune, and
I know, but there's
Pluto edition.
not as big as Jupiter. Jupiter is like the biggest planet, right?
Yeah, then it gets deeper after that. Yeah, constellations or something.
I mostly buy 100% now. Kickstarter, Patreon, my mini factory had too many issues with free files. That I could see that. I had some great free files, but you definitely get access to a bit better quality when you're purchasing.
And better pre-supported and stuff too, I think.
Yeah. The best 3D printer is a friend's printer. Just like brushes too. The best brush is a friend's brush.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong.
The fastest way to paint an army is have someone else do it for you.
I'm just skipping through your ones that I shouldn't be putting up, like me saying hello. I do a ton in 10 mil now. I was watching Barbarian season 2 on Netflix yesterday, and it's got me like I'm flitting around too much, but it's got me thinking how I've always wanted to play in 6 mil, either Dark Ages or Ancients. That game that Fraser had done a battle report on with the cards with the Ancients, like
is that where you have the spaces?
Yeah, you move. Yeah.
What's that called?
I
remember watching that.
I'm forgetting it now. I'm forgetting the name of it, but
it's popular. Yeah, especially in Europe. But
it looks really good, and I've been thinking that I'd really.
Was it to the strongest? Right.
That's it. To the strongest. Yeah. I was thinking I would really like to print off some armies for that. I could whip that out real quick, and I'd love to just print both sides and have the ability to play that. It looks like a really fun game. And watching the ancient stuff like the Romans and just all that stuff, it's got me. That's what I walked away from. I start watching another season, and then all of a sudden now I've got another project.
Yeah, but 6 mil, I would think you could crank that out, sort of, right?
Yeah, there's not a lot of details in 6 mil.
It's more techniques, I think.
Yeah, and I like the look of. I love the look of the small scale with the mass battles ranked up. I love the look.
Oh, heavens, yes. Oh, yeah.
So it's fun to look at. It's like.
I agree. You get a really massive epic scope.
Todd says, "What's up, guys? McMurray is trying some 6 mil for me. That's cool. So just printing some 6 mil for you. Is that?
Hopefully, he's painting them too, right?
That's right. 2 years ago, tech came out for scanning. Yeah, so it is. It is really. You can get an app on your phone. Some scan better than others. There's some standalone things now though too. I think. Yeah.
I think it was in our first season when we were talking about. Wouldn't it be great if someone be able to set up a service where you want the army, whatever you want, and they would print it out and then send it to you. It's like,
oh man,
and it's like, well, now it's here.
Well,
it's like play by mail in the old days. Yeah.
You get these places like, I don't know if they're still around, but do you remember Blue Table Painting?
Yep.
Well, they were an outfit. It was
Gately.
basically like a house that had a business in it, and they had painters like all over the place in this house, and they were painting up armies for people and sending them, to them. And all you got to do is dedicate a room for 3D printing, and now you could just manufacture it and paint it and then send it out, just like what you're talking about, like places like that. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Like I'm friends with him on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's still around. He sold off the business or got rid of it and shrunk down into a small, shrunk the business down to where it's mostly just him doing it.
All right.
That's cool. Yeah, the market's just flooded now with printers, resin, and then places that are printing them for you and files that you can buy or free. But
yeah,
it's crazy.
Chris says a friend made one with Xbox Connect, I'm guessing scanner.
A scanner, yeah.
Brad says, I keep wanting to get the Ogres from Artisan Guild. To the Strongest, yes, Chris. That's the one. I play it and ECW for King and Parliament. It looks like a really fun game to me. I was never really Tim, if he's still in the house, is going to have a heart attack when I say this, but because I know he really likes Ancients. But
yeah,
I never could initially get into Ancients for some reason, and I think I just had my focus elsewhere as I was going from more fictional gaming into historical gaming. I never really could initially get into it, but now I'm starting to see more and more of an appeal to try it someday. I don't think I'll ever do Napoleonics, not because I don't think it's an awesome thing, but I think I have my hands full with French Indian War for like horse and musket. Like I think I
kind of covers that.
But I don't have something for like Ancients, other than like the Dark Ages, which is not classified technically as Ancients, I guess, but like for Saga. And I like the Dark Ages too, and I've debated whether I would just do that in small scale, but I don't know. I think that would be a really fun game, though.
Yeah, it's like if you're trying to get into Napoleonics, there's so many different units you have to paint. It's like you could have like the Germanic states, each one had a different colored uniform and everything. If you're trying to be historical, you have to at this regiment, this regiment, this regiment, this regiment. It drives you nuts.
Yeah. No, well, I already have so much that I still want to do, and I have to get back to someday. I've been thinking about it more regularly recently to start doing some historical painting I have so much to paint, like for French Indian War still. I just don't see myself ever. I see myself moving into 7 Years' War from French Indian War and just staying within that timeline and just going to the other continent and using some of my British and French in that. And just starting to do that stuff if I'm going to do that at all. So,
well, if you're doing it in 28 millimeter, you got such a collection started that you hate to start all over with doing Napoleonics in 28.
No,
I mean,
that's the thing is I just
you just can't.
It is a flavorful and awesome kind of thing.
It's beautiful, but it's just the time commitment's huge and the money.
You're looking at Nick's. He's doing the 100 Years' War.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's like 1,000.
800 guys that he didn't have them all on the table even or something.
Yeah,
28 mil.
Oh my god,
beautifully painted. Oh, it's gorgeous.
And the early 100 Years' War miniatures are all metal.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of the ones in the late 100 Years' War are plastics, but
that shows what Focus can do, though. I mean, he literally, that's what he does. I mean, as far as miniature word gaming, he doesn't dabble for 6 months in this and that. And, it's just kind of, but that's the kind of commitment that it really takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to accomplish that. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris says, I think it's To the Strongest. It's a fun game. And the grid, you don't notice it. I was kind of wondering about that.
That always bothered me, but you're right. The grid. Well, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. And then I watched Frazier's game. You know what? In those mats they have, you don't notice it.
Yeah, you can have them where they're kind of also like low lighted,
really
so you
muted.
see them, but they're muted. I wondered, Chris, whether did you buy a particular mat for that, like to have the grid? Because I wondered about that. Yes, Naps is a lifetime hobby. I actually find the 7 Years War, or like the French Indian War, you know, before the American War of Independence, that is actually to me a lifetime hobby, and that's not even nearly as robust.
Yeah, it's not as big as scope as the Napoleonics.
Yeah.
When you're talking about grid, what do you mean by grid?
You actually have rather than just
Squares.
moving your miniature like in any direction, whatever, you do have squares that you move your miniatures. It is a
On the
grid-based system, and so it would be. I mean, it's not like BattleTech in the sense that it's not hexagon, but it would be like BattleTech in the sense that it is a grid. There's a grid.
How big are the grids? Just on film, they look like they're maybe 6 to 10 inches. Is that right or not?
It is depending on the scale you're playing it.
Okay, we're right.
And so if you're playing 6 mil, I don't think it is.
Right. And then a lot of them, it just has a little like cross in the corners on some of the mats I've seen. Doesn't, you know, it's not just big black squares.
Yeah, I saw that
but
too.
you really don't notice it if it's done well.
Right.
Then you're not doing all that measuring.
It's almost like playing remember the Battle Masters map?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of, that's what comes to mind when you're talking about it.
It's more subtle than that, but yeah. It's like that.
I don't know what scale you're playing it in, Chris, but if you're playing in small scale and you know of a good 3D manufacturer, I haven't looked in a while, but 6 months ago when I looked at it, I couldn't find anybody that I wanted in particular. But I think there might have been one that I was resisting to pay for anything, and I think there might have been one that was pretty decent that you had to buy the files. In which case, I'd consider that now at this point. So. My grid is 4 inches and 20 mils. They use 6 inches.
Okay, that's what it looks like. Yeah,
I thought I'd seen it even less for 6 mil. Like people using even smaller.
Is he playing in 6 or 10 mil? Do you know? For Chris,
I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
he'll probably chime in with that.
I haven't even heard of this system until today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good videos on it.
Yeah,
it actually, I think, is really cool.
It's intriguing. It's different. Yeah.
The only thing that I mean, like if you're really into dice and you're kind of resistant to using cards, but they use cards differently in it. I think it's pretty cool using a deck of cards the way they do.
Yeah, I don't mind cards being in the game. That's cool with me.
So you said he bought 4 inches for 15 to 10.
Okay, to 10.
Because I think you can use 2 inches actually for 6 mil.
6 mil, that could be. Yeah.
You know, we've been having so much fun that I haven't even like started painting anything.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
Which, yeah, I guess it's obvious I haven't been painting, but usually we do a paint and chat lately. But actually, I could even just not paint tonight because we're having such good discussion. It says Simon Miller is the author.
That's right. Yep. Is he Simon Miller? Is he the one that does Sword Point also? Or is that not right?
And Sword Point is the
it's a medieval
Gripping Beasts game, right?
Yeah, right.
Gripping Beasts.
Is that Simon Miller? That just sounds right. I might be wrong. Probably wrong. But that game I've been looking at, and Nick does on his medieval channel, plays a lot of Sword Point.
Yeah. It's like I picked up the Sword Point rules.
Yeah, I have the first edition. The second edition came out sometime this summer or fall.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it's no big changes. If you have the first edition, you can go online and get free the changes downloaded. So
yeah. It was after he went through and did his reviews and stuff of it. I was like, that sounds intriguing. I might have to look into that.
Yeah. There's too many things. Which is good. That's a good problem. I
always look at it. It's a lot cheaper to just buy a rule book
Yeah.
and check it out and see if it's something that intrigues you instead of buying an entire army and then finding out you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. And then it's nice to buy rules for things you have armies for already, so you can, like, you can just basically make your stuff work for in a whole different game. That's definitely tempting to buy the rules for that.
Well, and if you're using 15 mil or 28 mil, you can use it in a fantasy game, or you can use it any other historical
game too.
For Ancients mass battles, I'm a bit hooped there. For me, that's a new whole thing if I do it. Whether it doesn't matter whether it's big miniatures or small miniatures, it's going to be completely new for me. But
yeah, I have a lot of Dark Age stuff in 15 mil.
In 15, yeah. Yeah, well, we played with some of that when we played when I played that fantasy game.
Arcana.
Yeah, I used your Saxons or Normans or something. Remember?
Yeah, you were using my late Normans and
that's what it was.
Crusaders.
I always said I'd never do anything smaller than 28 millimeter, but here I am. I'm like, I've bought some smaller stuff. I see the intrigue with it. I really do now.
For me, I've been really set on the 6 mil for Ancients if I do it. I like the look of the little guys.
I do for large, especially Ancients or Napoleonics or American Civil War. I actually watched a channel last night. They do 10 mil Kings of War games. Oh, and it is freaking cool.
Wow.
It works. It works. It takes this small table and they have all the scenery and use all the same rules. I think they converted, is it inches to centimeters or something? And you can, very little investment, very little space to play or store, and not that long to paint up, and it's gorgeous. It's kind of like,
you can put a couple of armies or an army into a couple of boxes,
Yeah. I don't think I get quite the enjoyment. I'll see when I start painting mine, but I don't think I get quite the enjoyment that I do for painting 28 millimeter. But maybe not.
It's a totally different experience.
It's a different experience.
Yeah.
You're not going into the detail.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like you're getting into the minutia of the detail.
Instead of the overall look of the unit. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, instead of the individual model, it's the unit now.
That is your individual, right?
Yeah. And for 6 mil, you're literally holding the unit in front of you and looking at how you can make a unit pop, as opposed to looking at the individual miniature. It's like one organic thing that you're painting as opposed to individual guys. Yeah. So
it's cool though. It's intriguing. I'm open-minded enough to see that.
Yeah, I think so. And I always will come back to 28 mil to be able to paint a face and look at the eyes and just painting like an actual human figure or whatever.
Well, and when it's done well, you almost I almost feel like they can start walking across the table because there's enough detail that they really look lifelike sometimes, And, and in the photographs and stuff, and you don't get that when you zoom into. Well, sometimes you do on 15, but anything smaller than that, it's not. But that's not the point,
right?
So it's cool though.
But you don't get oftentimes with 28 mil. The same level of majesty as you do with like the 6 mil on the table when you're looking at like huge formations and stuff.
Yes. Unless you got a table that's literally 20 some feet long, which I've seen some large ACW and Napoleonic battles that way. But I was watching a game the other night of a guy. He had these two huge Napoleonic armies, but they were probably jammed onto like a 4x8 or so. And it kind of like they're shooting at each other and they look like they're point blank range. It's just it was gorgeous and it was incredible and I had a lot of respect, but all of a sudden now I'm starting to see it a little bit the other way, where that would look better in 10 or 15 to my eye at this point.
I think
capture the feel of it better.
Looks like Chris had to step away for a second. He's going to be coming back, but he says Dan should look at my son's Webster, lots of Bretonians.
Oh, cool.
And I think he might have helped with Sword Point. I think he's referring to the gentleman that we were referring to, Simon. Above. All right. Looks like we're all caught up on the comments. So
cool.
I am. We are 9 minutes into the second hour of the show, and I'm going to be sticking with the theme that I started with Sapporo, except I was out buying Christmas presents, and I'm extremely bad about buying presents for myself during Christmas, like when going out and getting stuff. And so I got myself a refill on my Sapporo. I love Japanese whiskey. I've become such a fan.
I've never had any
whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, the next time you come to the house, you can rectify that problem.
Okay. I did earlier tonight with my wife. We have a drink when she gets home from work, and I did have a Jameson and Canadian Dry. So
nice.
Yeah. But now I'm drinking cherry juicy juice.
You know what? I'm not experienced enough in like Japanese whiskey to make this statement, but maybe on the little that I've had, Rusty, you could tell me whether I'm right on this or not. But like when I look at Centauri and I compare it to the Toki Centauri, I find that it has like a pureness that is really nice. Like it has a really nice flavor and it's very pure, but it's very simple. It's not extremely complex. And in some ways, that's what I like about it. It's not like drinking scotch at all. Like it's totally different than drinking scotch. A lot of times
it is aged in scotch barrels.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Or they will have a natural Japanese oak, one of the two. It depends on which version they're using. But it doesn't take much to lose the flavor. Now, if you put it on ice, it just drops. The flavor just gets washed away quickly. Add too much water. It's like you could take a glass of it, it's like this right here, and add a couple drops of water to it, and it will change the flavor of it quickly.
I could definitely taste the oak in this. They don't come out and say that this is in an oak cask, but I can taste it. It says a vivid blend of carefully selected Japanese whiskeys, silky with a subtle sweet and spicy finish. But I really like it. I've become a fan. I think it was after the Bill Murray movie, Centauri Time, for a relaxing time. Centauri, do you know what I'm talking about? I think, what was the movie he was in with Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah.
That's such a great movie, though. But you know which one I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't place.
Yeah. It was a good one, and that's where I was like, oh, I should try that. It's a great advertisement.
Yeah, right.
Now they have like 3 different versions of that one. Depends on. I believe it's how they age it and what cask, and will determine what it is.
I'm not that sophisticated. I like Jameson because we toured the Jameson distillery when we were in Dublin, and I like Captain Morgan because I like the pirate on the front. That's all you get from me.
I like the look of the pirate. Tastes good.
Tastes good. I feel like I'm a pirate when I'm drinking it. So it's. And then I like Templeton Rye. That's that Iowa, whiskey that is distilled in Iowa and bottled in Iowa. So.
Are they now distilling it in Iowa? Have they got their distillery?
They built a distillery. It's still any of the bottles I see in the store still say Indiana on it. Okay. They distill it in Indiana and bottle it in Templeton, but they've been making their own. There should be some on the shelves now because 4 years ago they started their first. They're moving it all to Templeton, and we toured that last fall. It was cool.
My daughter's company, she's an engineer, was supposed to build it for her.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's a wonderful tour. They have a cool museum at the beginning and all the history of it, and it's kind of cool because it's really local to us. I mean, it's like a half hour away, 40 minutes, something like that. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's how I choose mine.
Chris says I bought myself gifts NAM stuff. That's awesome.
There you go. It must have been good this year.
I actually, I don't know. I've had a splurge. I think it's because I've had motorcycles on the mind like all summer and in the fall, and I'm now getting really full bore back into my miniature hobby in the cold time now. And I've had this urge to spend money on miniature stuff. And in a lot of ways, doing the 3D printing, like just getting this book and doing the 3D printing, like has actually quenched that, because I am getting like these cool miniatures in front of me and I'm really loving the rules. But I still like feel like going down to the hobby store and like buying something. I actually thought about, because I was a kid in the 80s when the He-Man phenomenon happened. Like and I remember being a grade school kid. To my taste, to some degree, as much as I love the aesthetic, to my taste, I don't know that I kind of get that from the Marvel stuff. Like I'm kind of getting that nostalgia from it. But I thought about getting that He-Man game because the miniatures look cool. But then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that because I just have so much to paint, even for the Marvel stuff and things already. Yeah. And so I've been wanting to spend some money, and I probably go down there and get some supplies that I need instead, just to breathe the air of the store and like walk around and stuff, like just get that out of my system.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of what I need to do, is just get it out of my system. Although there's always something like, what game that I always tell myself I'd like to get, but I think it's hard to. The last time I tried to get it, I couldn't buy it. I couldn't find it, but the World War I, World War II game that's like X-Wing,
Wings
of War, and the other one,
Blood Red Skies or something is the.
Well, no, the one that's
old.
Well, the Wings of War is like World War II, and then there's Wings of Glory, which is World War I. Yeah. I was really wanting to play the World War I, the original version. Yeah, I love X-Wing, like, so I really like that. And this is a little different in the way they do the movement. Instead of being a dial, you place cards down. Like you have to have a deck of where your movement's going to be, like, and you have to commit to certain things ahead of time. But I kind of thought that would be fun, and I wanted to kind of get into it. But when I tried to, it wasn't really available. And so. And I'm not big on getting games that are completely like you're paying a lot more because now they're collectibles. I already do that with the Old Hammer stuff. Like I don't want to actually.
I know.
So I struggle with that a bit.
I've been looking at that Man of War game, that old game from the 90s from Games Workshop. There's it's getting popular again. I suppose the nostalgia bug, but there's some people putting out some really cool videos of it. And I knew that it was out there back then, but I never, never had it or watched it be played. And it looks really fun. And then you can get 3D printed proxies that are specifically designed to match. And so, and actually the rules and templates are actually files are online. So, I mean, with a little effort, you wouldn't have to spend a lot to do it.
Right.
And,
well, no, I mean, it'd be a reason to get a 3D printer, I think.
Yeah, right? I almost have to. I'm like obligated now.
I'm still actually, one of my buddies that I got into it with, I think he's had some stuff happen where he's just not been able to really follow through as much with it. But I think I'm still interested in the Horus Heresy stuff that I was doing with the 3D printer. And I still have that stuff that I still want to paint and continue with it. But there's so many things you could do with it. Like that was just an example of how I could just do such cool stuff. There's just such amazing stuff out there to print all that. It really does open a world of opportunity. So Chris says, I like drinking the Bat. I'm not sure what that is. Rusty? Dan?
Bat 20, is that Bat 21?
I'm not sure what that is.
It's a Scotch.
Right now, I've got Moosehead in my fridge. I think Chris. I know you guys all probably heard of that, but that's a Canadian beer. I was tempted to get the Master of the Universe game. The sculpts look really cool, and it is purely nostalgia for me because I remember being a grade school kid and having like those original figures when they came out with the little comic book in it, and I just love them. But they are it is kind of, like. I don't know. I think it would be a bit of something I would regret afterwards. My family got me Hero Quest and Axis and Allies. That sounds like awesome.
Yeah. Axis and Allies board game or miniatures?
Yeah, it was tempting to get the Axis and Allies miniatures miniature version back when it was out.
Yeah, my youngest brother got some of those for no reason. He never played it, but I think he still has them. Probably forgot about that.
Wings of Glory and Wings of War aircraft are
Yeah.
so expensive if you can find them. So the only way I would get back into it is if they re-released it. Like I don't think I would get into it otherwise. I have to limit the things that I get into that are really collectible.
You're right. Same here.
Yeah, Trent Berg is a local guy we used to play games with and help play test stuff with. He did a World War II and a modern aircraft combat game system. Bacardi.
He's talking about Bacardi when he's saying so.
Oh, BAT. That BAT is Bacardi.
What does the T stand for in Bacardi? I'm trying to remember.
Well, there's a BAT 21 Scotch.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at it. We got Dwayne in the house.
There he is.
Awesome.
Are you up because your release doing your advent calendar? Have you got finally the not the Word of Blake? What am I thinking? Comstar. Get the Comstar mech yet?
Okay, I heard the word. It's time.
It's happening.
Oh, that BattleTech word.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Since we had a BattleTech toast. It's a game I don't even play, but I have to toast to it. It's tradition. I have the miniatures. I have some of them at least.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I'll be honest. I've more and more. You know how I love the retro stuff, but more and more and seeing the stuff that Rusty and Dwayne have put up, like I am more and more appreciating the modern miniatures. Like
the new plastics are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're big. They're big, but they're gorgeous.
I've kind of come around because I kind of got into wargaming with modern stuff.
The nice thing is like,
yeah, you don't worry. Yeah,
it's just you drop them.
Yeah, but if somebody attacked you right now, you couldn't use the miniature to take their eye out, which you can with a miniature
sword.
It has a dual purpose. Or you can melt them down and turn them into musket balls, like you told me how a friend did.
I'll just beat them down with some.
I started with metal miniatures for sure, like with Dungeons and Dragons and the first Rogue Trader. But when I got seriously into wargaming as an adult, it was more like in 2011, 12, and I started with what I would call modern miniatures. They're not the same miniatures as today that are plastics, but I started again with modern miniatures, and then I had this like kind of like transition backwards to really appreciating older miniatures and metals. But now I'm kind of like coming back again where I'm like, with Marvel Crisis Protocol and just other things, I'm having like another appreciation too of like the new stuff too. So it's kind of funny how you can transition and how you appreciate things. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot to offer in all of those things, And
then historicals too. Like, many of us will buy plastic kits that are new of historical miniatures and they look really good. Right. And, it's no different than getting Yeah, absolutely. Brad says, I looked at the price and was like, I have miniatures already for the Masters of the Universe. Yeah, because you have a 3D printer. I enjoy the Axis. So Dwayne says, I enjoy the Axis and Allies board game. Mind you, it takes up a whole day to play properly.
Oh, yeah. My brothers and I get together once a year and we play that. It takes us all day. Mm-hmm. Of course, we check around some too, but.
Board game, the Europe and Pacific boxes.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the Succession Wars board game being reprinted in the future.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm up because I'm editing a late video. No Comstar yet, though.
It's going to be the last day. The very last box you open will be the only Comstar box.
Bacardi has the bat logo. Yeah, I'm not a big rum drinker. I like rum, and like I have Bacardi in the cupboard. I like rum, but I will happily drink it. But I've kind of more gravitated towards whiskey, and I find for me, I drink whiskey straight. Just like right here. But But if I'm gonna have like a Coke and something mixed in it, it's usually gonna be rye. So like a rye and Coke, where a lot of people like rum and Coke.
I like rum and Coke.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. I mean, it's sweet too, so it kind of harmonizes well.
Yeah.
But I've always been more of a rye bourbon kind of Scotch Irish whiskey drinker. But so that's. But I seem to remember, doesn't the Bacardi logo have like a red behind the bat? Is that what we're referring to? It's like a bat with like red behind a circle or something like that.
It could be.
I don't
trying to remember.
I think I have some Bacardi upstairs. That's the stuff we throw into the margaritas.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a red circle with a black bat.
Okay.
There you go.
It's like if I'm drinking rum, I'm drinking aged rum that's higher quality.
Dwayne says Palmer will be drunk by the end of this conversation. So
battle tech.
You know what?
Battle tech.
I guess that's what we're referring to. I have had a couple of our shows where I've been like, I got to watch this because like we're having too much fun here. Like these shows go on for a while and we actually just enjoy them a little too much. But I haven't had that too much. I've not started to slur too often. Let's see. The new plastics brought a whole new generation of folks into the game.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, and then the video games too, right? I think the video game like paired with that seemed to seamlessly do that.
Yeah, it's like the transition drug to get them into the board game.
Yeah, they look good, admittedly. I mean, initially I sided because with my nostalgia retro kind of look, I always really like that kind of look, and I still do. But more and more, I've come to appreciate the newer designs and just how cool they look.
So that's an interesting maybe segue, Palmer, into the Warhammer Fantasy discussion we talked about, because that's been in my head since you guys mentioned that. There's a lot going on there too, whether it's nostalgia or the new stuff, and then of course what actually is going to happen. But
it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I watched that video you sent me, and I was looking at the Kislev with the bears and stuff.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, like, ideally, I have so much to paint, and I love, like, there's no way that I'm not going to paint my high elves and pull out my old painting guides, like with a little bit of scotch and enjoy immersing myself back into the late 80s. Like, like there's no way I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Having said that, after watching the video you showed me, I asked myself, would I collect a new army? Would I just do it just because it's happening?
I've been wondering that myself.
Yeah, and I thought, well, like the Kislev kind of looks pretty cool. Like I was just looking at a couple of things, and I also thought, are they going to re-release Bretonnians? Are they going to do that? And
here's like they will.
If you look at the map, it's like Bretonnian all over the place, like all the different Bretonnians, And I thought, well, that's kind of cool too,
Did you see the artwork that they released? It is a spitting image of the current artwork, and so that's the speculation that they're going to just re-release the Bretonnian and Tomb King plastic kits that were already out there that are no longer available.
Okay.
And because at first to have the big release, they're going to have to drop everything, right? And they've indicated you're going to be able to use your old miniatures at least for a while, or mix the new ones in. So that makes you think that the scale will be at least compatible-ish, even though there's always seems to be scale creep. And then those are already out there, so that'd be easy to cover, and they're well missed and well loved yet. The Orcs and Goblins, the Lizardmen are currently in Age of Sigmar as is. They could be, the Chaos could be run into Warhammer Fantasy, and then they'll release some new lines probably with the initial drop, like Kislev would be one, because they'll need something that's new and shiny, right?
Well, when were the latest Bretonnians released? Like the latest plastic kits for Bretonnians came out.
It'd be, well, that's for 6th edition was the last kits that came out, which would be, those are the last ones, those plastic kits that you see. And there was that 2003 through 6 when those were kind of released.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2004 and 5.
So really,
the book came out in 3, I think.
So as much as we love that's like, and I know you love the 5th edition even more, but like as much
way
as
more.
we love, as much as you're like, yeah, no doubt, I'll
release those again, boys.
You're like, no
Why
doubt
mess
about
around?
that. Even though we love the aesthetics of that time, I have a hard time believing that they would release an old plastic kit like that, like for this.
Well, that's what they're doing for the Lord of the Rings. All those are all old plastic kits, even in their new box sets. Just the heroes are being redone, and they're just repackaging. The terrain is new, like for the Osgiliath release, but otherwise it's all old miniatures.
Well, let me so like take that position and let me counter it, like just for the sake of this, discussion, like because I don't have a strong opinion either way as to which.
I don't either. I'm just speculating.
But like I'm going to take the opposite position on that, and I think the reason is that they, in that video, and what I have heard too, is that they're likening the old world to 30K for Warhammer.
Yes.
There's nothing that they're going backwards on that. Like they're not going backwards on anything. Like it's either Forge World expensive stuff or new kits that you can get in expensive box sets, from plastic box sets. So for them to go back to, I would love for them to do that, because I would probably buy those no matter what. Like I probably would just buy those to have them. And if they did that, but I struggle if that's the case, if that's the direction, like if this is going to be that sort of specialist game where they're going to treat the rule set differently, like in the way that like Horus Heresy has the 7th edition, they're going to make this its own rule set that, like normally they would come out with really brand new miniatures, like either for Forge World or whatever. I wish they would do what you're saying, I wish they would do that, and then I would pick those miniatures up. I don't know. I guess
the rumors and a lot of the speculation is that they will, and there's if you really get into the weeds, there's a couple of people. One of them is like Hastings 69 is his tag on somewhere, but he always through the years has some, and there's others too that have rumors that tend to be pretty accurate. So that's maybe where some of it founds from, but
sure.
But I think you got to look at it too. How are they going to do this? Okay, well, they have a rule set, and how are they going to have all these armies land at one time, right? And so it looks like they're going to try to do what they did when they went from 5th to 6th edition. The rules drop. There'll be a boxed set that comes with it, which is the debate on what will be in there. Everybody's speculating, which you think they'll have to have something like that. And then they'll release all those old kits. They've had plenty of time to do that. And again, the artwork does point the Bretonian. If you look at the Bretonian archer knight in that orc, is he in on a boar? Yeah, that orc that's riding on the boar. It's redrawn of the exact same box art that was in those 6th editions. So which point, and if this is their new art they're releasing, unless they're going to resculpt those to be identical, which why would you do that? This is a way they can have very little money laid out. They can put all the armies are available, or you can use your old ones. And then I think they're suggesting Games Workshop will keep releasing the plastic kits, and then Forge World will handle everything else for the game. Because everything wasn't in plastic necessarily, or and then like individual heroes and characters and maybe some new units. But that way they can hit the ground and then have like that Ravening Hordes that came out for 6th edition. That will allow you to play all your armies right away when the release comes out. And look at that, looks successful to me. They're not taking a huge risk. They're going to release, Kislev maybe, and maybe something else. And then all this old stuff they already have, people are going to love that. And if the rules are sound and it gets some life, then they can, invest as they see fit.
That's potentially.
So it just looks to me like kind of their least, their best risk reward opportunity, because they're not going to be able to sculpt all new lines for everything before they drop the game. They would have to start this 10 years ago.
Well,
and their art does suggest that they're going with that same sort of visual, identical even. So like kind of pointing to it. They're suggesting it's almost like they want to see people's reaction to that. Are they open for this? Or are they gonna be like, well, I'm not spending $80 on these same old miniatures, but you like, the Tomb Kings and Bretonians, you have to pay through the nose to get them online, and they might even be broken. eBay.
So then why has anybody brought up this fact that like what's taken them so long then? So like why has it been 3 years if you're just releasing this kits you've had all along?
Well, it depends how hardcore they're doing. I know, I agree. It depends how hardcore that they're working on the rules system, and there's some hope that they are actually playtesting the new, because they're
3 years.
Well, yeah, and of course COVID's in there, and then there was some speculation that they threw in their announcement during the Kings of War release to kind of try to take some of their thunder away.
Yeah, I struggle with that timeline if that's what they're doing.
I say that three-year timeline has been kind of their MO basically.
Yeah, but
it would have released quicker. Well, it sounded like it was going to release this summer, and now they're speculating whether it got pushed back because of some COVID supply line issues and things. But
I mean, they made this announcement in 2018, right? Is what I heard.
19.
Oh, 19. Really? Because okay, I thought they said 18 in the video.
So we're on the time schedule. You'd expect to maybe see it next summer, Christmas, or for sure the following year if they got behind.
Which would be like 4 years.
3 to 4, which is what their announcement said. Their original first announcement said no time soon. We're not talking 2, maybe 3 or possibly more. So
even unless they're releasing a lot more like new armies than what they said, I think that 4 years is ridiculously long given what they can do to release, like, let's say 2 armies, in plastic or whatever, and then to do like re-release just the old Bretonian kits. I personally don't think it should take that long to do the rules, but one thing I do think is interesting is
when they're actually play testing though. That'd be new.
Yeah, exactly. When they I don't know. I think when they went with Age of Sigmar, if we use the Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition end times to transition to Age of Sigmar as an observation, they allow you to use everything that you had before. And which I thought was really good, but then when you played the game, you realized fairly quickly that they were going to transition. The Ninth Age. They were going to transition you to the new armies and the new rules, because, like, if you did what I did and you played like the goblins, the classic goblins, like you realized they were going to outpower you with all the new armies pretty quickly. But you still got to play for a good year at least,
which is important.
With your thing, yeah. And so you could use your miniatures. So even though they sold everything with circles and rounds, like, and they were going towards that, you were totally allowed to use squares. And so that was a feature to transition, allow people to transition in the game. Right. The thing about this is, even though you'd mentioned, like you have the new Lizardmen, and like you have like the same Lizardmen, the same this and that that you're using out there. The difference is that even though the model's available and you can buy it perhaps now with a square too, you already have, if you played Age of Sigmar, you bought it and you have it on a circle, and that's not going to rank up.
Right.
And so that's one difference that I think the transition backwards from Age of Sigmar to the old world with, let's say, your Lizardmen, or I'll call them Seraphim, isn't that what they're called, or something like that? That army is going to be harder. It's going to be a harder transition to do the old world game for folks that were buying new miniatures that are could be used in it from Age of Sigmar, because you're gonna have to rebase your stuff.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying they could sell those same miniatures with squares in the because are people going to play both AOS and fantasy? Maybe some will, but it seems like either you're into the big rank and flank, or you might not play both. And I've also heard they tried to make some sort of trays that could make that work. I think that's tricky because ranking circles, you usually gain space unless the circles all touch.
Yeah.
But that could be done.
All they have to do is bring out a movement tray base that has put your circles in,
Yeah.
It holds them in place.
But you got to make sure the circles touch. Otherwise, you're more than 15 or 20 millimeters apart and your ranks are too spread.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be interesting. I'm sure they've had all these discussions and came up with an answer, but on what their target audience is. And it's going to be difficult because they're trying to please a lot of people are interested in this, whether it's people that are just coming from the Total War, video game, or people that are, been in it since second and third, fourth editions, or, and even for me, like I didn't like it when they changed. I don't own just a few things from 6th edition Bretonians because I didn't like the lore changes. And I frankly didn't like the miniatures near as well. But that's just for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they're way better and they love it. And that's cool. So you've got a million different viewpoints on what they want. And at the end of the day, it'll come down to, anyway, if the game's any good. Because they'll build traction. Even if they allow you to play the Bretonians with existing army that I have, they can tempt you with these new fancier models over time. And I'm not going to say I wouldn't buy them. It's not like, well, I have my Bretonian army, I'm done, or I have my Goblin army from 6th edition, I'm good. Well, they don't have to overpower your army to get you to buy models. They can just tempt you with, well, I'm going to replace that unit of knights with these new ones. These are freaking cool. So they can try to keep people happy, I think.
True.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, an interesting point that needs to be brought up is that Games Workshop shrunk their writing base for
I heard that
games. So they don't have as many people, so they can only focus on one thing before they can move on to the next.
Yeah.
So it's like they're putting all their effort into Age of Sigmar or
40K. And the new 40K 10th edition supposedly is really likely to drop next summer, is what people are saying.
Oh.
So whether or not they've been really tied up with that the last year or so, I don't know, but it seems reasonable. Something will come out at some point. A lot of people are really going to be disappointed.
40th anniversary hits July of next year, so
either something will happen then, or by then we'll have had some major announcements with a pretty hardcore timeline. I wouldn't be surprised if for next Christmas you could buy something, because that's when the 5th edition came out, like fall of 96, right? Yeah.
Now the one thing they can do is they still can release a rule book without the miniatures, even though they're a miniature company. They can still
It just seems like that's not their MO though, and then to make a big a splash as possible. If they can release some new miniatures, or even just have new box sets of the Bretonians and Tomb Kings and everything with square bases, and it just seems like they've had time to prepare that, and you want to put your best foot forward. But you're right, they could just release the book and let that lay. But
I think they'll release 2 armies, like at a minimum. Like they'll release 2 things, like the Kislev and the something else.
That's what I agree.
And then do something like we're talking about. But Chris says it will be bigger scale. That's how they roll. Lots of laughs. I don't disagree. But yeah, it's hard because
I know they literally quoted in their thing saying that you can use your old models or mix in some of the new ones, so it won't be way off. But maybe enough that you're like, that doesn't look good.
Primaris Bretonians. I don't think they will do it. They have too many issues with production and supply lines. Movement trays, I think, referring to our discussion on the circles.
I keep thinking good answer for him.
GW's handling of the old world was a giant FU to the fan base at the time. I think that's true.
A giant flamethrower to the fan base.
One of the things, and I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but so as much as I want to get some new plastic and maybe consider some fun, getting something new army, from GW, going into the Games Workshop.
Yeah, because I haven't bought anything from them in ever.
As much as I'd love to do that, the one thing that I would say that I'm going to guess Dan would jump right on this and agree is closed system.
Yeah.
We're not going to get a closed system. So what you're going to have to do is, I can almost guarantee that you're going to have to keep up with both the White Dwarfs and all the new releases and determine how your army changes and how all the people you're going against have new ways to play their models because of the latest thing last week that was released, and how you have to combine what you have with something else to then be able to do something else. And one of the things I really like about going back and playing sixth edition,
It's a
and that I just
closed
did.
system.
It's closed.
Yeah,
Like there's
love
nothing that I have to worry about. Like it's all there.
It's what it is.
And you know, like there are times when even the players that I'm playing with will say something about how one thing's better in Ravening Hordes versus the Army Book, or one thing's better from the Army Book versus Ravening Hordes. And some armies are definitely better than other armies. You know, like if you're playing for the love of the game, to me, it's just about getting your models on the table and enjoying it for what it is, and not worrying about, like, you know, whether one army is a little more powerful than another, and just getting and rolling some dice and just having some fun and just enjoying being able to put the stuff on the table that you painted with, and knowing that, like, GW games are not and never were completely balanced games.
Balanced, no.
And so really, you know, I don't know. For me, that's a bit of a sweet spot, you know, and being able to play in that rule set, like knowing it's closed and not having to like worry about like all of the changes from a week to week basis. And that's the thing that's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, by the same token though, I mean, I agree 100% with what you say, and that's what I like about, you know, picking 5th or 6th or whatever your edition. It's all there, it's closed, there's no surprises, the minis, everything's pretty available even, you know. So but at the same time, you can take that same approach that you're talking about. I mean, that's how I play bolt action. I play against, like, even at the tournaments, I play against like some Finns, and I don't know any of their special rules, but I don't care. I'm there for the love of getting my guys on the table and rolling dice, and, you know, win, lose, or draw. It doesn't matter. So, you know, I don't see that necessarily as an argument against it. It's just what you like about a closed system.
That's assuming that the change doesn't affect your army.
Yeah, but like in what kind of ways? Maybe
all
this die or something.
Well, no, just like all of a sudden, you might find that certain units not available. Like they actually do that.
Oh,
you know, like
that's
happened.
I mean, I know
and it could be kind of, or even just. I don't know. Like I guess it just depends on how much power creep comes in with the changes of it being, you know, just whether it becomes not enjoyable. Like you said, if you only play, power creep shouldn't be as much of an issue if you don't really care like tremendously about winning. Like you're there to
and I don't care tremendously. My fun games are against my friends, and we have.
But let me ask you this: Have you ever been in a GW based game where you lost in the first round before you've had a chance to go?
No, I don't know.
Well, I have
ever played a game like that. Yeah,
I have.
But were you playing against somebody that isn't playing it with the same mindset as you anyway? Probably.
I played. Right? I just happened to play when Imperial Knights came out, like initially when they came out in 40K, and I had what most people would consider to be a really competitive army. I was playing Eldar, but first round I was done. Like not even a chance to respond. I packed up my stuff and left. And so that's the kind of stuff that I think and now I'm kind of like worrying about the boogeyman. Like I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this and that. No. I have experienced those things, but it's just closed systems are fun. Like when you know that
you know what all the cards are on the table, you know what everything is.
And also you're not dealing with new armies that are coming out that are heavily stacked like every week, like every period of time and stuff like that. That's what happened in Age of Sigmar.
No, that's true. And I guess for me too, I'm not so much on being on the latest bandwagon. I don't have a game shop that I'm going to that, boy, I want to get my new army together and I'm going to play against these guys with their new armies. A part of it for me, for all of us really is nostalgia anyway. And so that's I'm really interested to see what they do. And if there's some cool models, I'm not saying I wouldn't add them to what I have. I'm not going to start an army, I don't think.
Right. And I kind of thought about maybe starting an army. Like when I was seeing that, I was like, on the one hand, I'm pulled in one direction, like, oh, like maybe some really cool stuff will come out, and maybe I will try start.
Maybe it's
army,
a good game, and it's all
yeah,
good,
exactly.
or at least
maybe
for a
it's
while.
really good. Maybe they take something like they're doing with 7th edition for Horus Heresy, and they just take like something and they take the best of previous editions and
Well,
they make it something you identify with, you know, like and you just like it. But then on the other hand, I'm like, oh, do I want to go down that roller coaster? You know.
All right, I just want to interject here.
What is
The
that?
Horus Heresy system.
Yeah.
I could see fantasy coming out like the Horus Heresy. You interjected before about it, where they have an army book for the heretics. They have an army book for the Alliance, the Emperor, and then now they got the Mechanicum, and so it's not like they're having a lot of books with the game.
Okay, more just
that could be.
It'd just be a one book for this group, one book for all that group, and then
that's what they did with like Lord of the Rings. The new army releases are just they focus on it. You know, there's just a handful of them out there, really.
That would be really good. I think that would be great.
I don't know
if they use that as a template.
So it's like you get a rule book. It's like, speaking of which, I just ordered the rule book off eBay for $20. So
really,
yeah, it's like I will. My son and I were talking about it, and he goes, I wonder if it's like, well, the rule book is like $70-something. And I was like, I'm just curious. I looked on eBay, and it's like tons of them for $20 to $25.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they have that box set come out, the Horus Heresy box set for $250. Has a rule book in it. And there's people who will buy 2 boxes to make their army, and as a result, they don't need the second rule book, so they're just throwing them up.
Yeah, and so that's another point of view. Like maybe they'll use that as, since they said they're going to be doing this like Horus Heresy, maybe they'll use that as a template, and that would be good if they actually released like a couple of books, like even 3 books, and they had like good, bad, and something else, like, you know, or whatever. Like that would be, I think, fairly reasonable if they kept it kind of closed in that way and didn't.
Yeah.
As long as they don't take like an Age of Sigmar or a 40K approach, I think.
I think you'd be better off going the Horus Heresy direction instead. And it's like, this is everything. We're not going to change anything until maybe 3 or 4 years down the line.
It doesn't look like this is. I mean, obviously, it won't be one of their flagship. I mean, it'll be hopefully a very successful release, but you know, it's not going to be a 40K, and it's you know, it's hopefully because of that, then your books are good longer. There's not frantic release pace of new models, and you know, that maybe it will be a more player friendly that way.
Every 4 years, we'll get a new army.
If they go the route of the Horus Heresy, you're going to get a big box set with a lot of stuff in it. But it will come with a major price where you can buy a printer. For the same.
I won't be disappointed either way. It's whatever, but
well, as long as you have your old stuff and you know what you like we're not really in a position where we have to worry too much. I don't have a lot invested in it. What I'm just interested to see, and I hope it's successful. It's good for the hobby, and it's good for rank and flank games, and you know, absolutely. Dwayne's got a few comments here. We got some other ones here. I gave up on Warhammer Fantasy when 8th edition came out. I could see the writing on the wall in regards to the game requiring larger blocks of infantry required and monster.
Huge mistake.
Bias. Instead of saying just having one giant centerpiece in an army, they wanted you to be able to hold the army out of it.
I hope they stay away from those gigantic models like in AOS, where I don't even know how that works in the game. The footprint's like a foot square.
For some folks, rules balance and gameplay feed enthusiasm. For other aspects of the hobby, painting conversions. For others, other folk, they get their fix through the lore. Imperial Knights, when they first came out, were overpowered AF. Mind you, as an Elder player, you deserved it. I know, I kind of mentioned that. I kind of alluded to that because I had a fairly I had my Wraith Knight, you know, and which subsequently, after that period where the Imperial Knights were really powerful, they actually made the Wraith Knight even more powerful. And I actually stopped playing at that point because I actually got out of 40K during that phase. Like it was just like after that, I was just done with it. Like for a long time, I never actually really came back.
Yeah, it kind of burns you really hard, and
it did. And I wasn't there for the resurgence of Eldar. I just packed them up. They're still packed up.
Just kind of not fun anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to bolt action. Actually, that's how I got into bolt action.
A lot of people did that. That's when it was good timing for bolt action.
I'll stick with Kings of War. The end of the old world left me with a bad taste when I was a shop owner. And I didn't know you were a shop owner, Chris.
I didn't know.
And as a gamer, as someone who started in 1987. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. And Kings of War appears to be a really good game too. So
as we were talking about all of the back and forth with like the old world stuff and like what it's going to be like and whatever, all of a sudden Tim writes this 1-2, and I thought, oh, there's something deep coming here. And like, like I was like, what is he? I wanted to skip to his comment over everything just to see what that was.
I was trying to figure out what that was.
1-2.
And then he's like, sorry, I'm cleaning the keyboard.
Oh, I wondered what 1-2 was.
Yeah. So I guess, it was.
That's good.
That is funny.
That's
8 years I had a store. That's awesome.
No way. Where's Chris at? I forget.
He's in DC.
DC?
British Columbia.
BC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't remember if you said he was in Vancouver or Victoria but I thought he was in one of those two, near one of those two. But
yeah,
I think the biggest mistake GW made with 40 was folding the apocalypse size units into standard games.
Yeah, that's like when you start getting the super heavy tanks and all that. Just in it, you could. When I had played a game where I had playing the Space Marines on my side for facing off against Eldar, and I had a Space Marine super heavy tank, and it's just like you're laying down a template like this, and it's like in 2-3 units of Eldar just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like D weapon drop, bam, damn. Each turn was like a quarter of the army's gone, and and then you add all the other fire with all your other weapons and vehicles and stuff. And it was like, it was like maybe 2 turns we played before the Eldar were completely wiped.
Chris says Prince George. Okay, I was incorrect. Mel says, I just ran across Oathmark Battles of the Lost Age. I doubt I ever buy GW stuff again, but maybe the odd paint. Yeah, I still pick up paint occasionally.
Yeah, that's all I buy from them is occasionally some paints that I do like. I haven't bought miniatures from them in almost probably 20 years or more.
Well, I buy miniatures all the time.
Other than used.
Really old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't count.
I buy more secondhand used old out of print miniatures than I buy new by far. Honestly, by far. Not just dollars, but
I always go on eBay and buy. It's like I getting it secondhand is I don't feel like I'm buying from them. It's like I'm just. It's like going to the yard sale and buying.
Yeah. Well, and I'm putting some money in somebody's pocket, some regular person usually, and that's kind of cool.
And the thing about GW miniatures, they're cheap on eBay. It's not like, unless it's the really nostalgic stuff. But
oh yeah, well, Bretonians still aren't. I'm just saying.
It's like.
Although,
occasionally,
I check it about every day at different times, and occasionally I still do pick up something. Somebody puts it up there, and I don't know if they just want it gone or they don't care or really know. Yeah, and I'll snag a bargain once in a while still.
Beastmen are now starting to sell like Bretonians. To be honest, they're actually almost out of control now. Like I look at stuff that I got for like a lot cheaper when I went back and collected them, and
aren't you glad you did that? It's like I remember when I started collecting, I was afraid all of a sudden, like how much of this stuff's out there, I won't be able to even find it, and it is getting posted less, but the price is like I don't think people pay it, but it's just beyond. Even when you say, well, I'm an adult and I've got some money I can spend and I'll love it and I've always wanted one, I still can't do it. It's too much.
Yeah. I'm so happy that so we played 2,000 points, and I'm just so happy that I don't know if I own 4,000 to 5,000. I'm not sure, but I know that I have a lot more than what I would ever really need to reasonably play games, at this point
But you
with my
can
Beastman.
plug in whatever you want, which is cool.
Yeah, and I can. I'm fairly good on both my High Elves and my Beastmen, and so I
That's
know
good.
that I can do that, and it feels good because at this point, people are paying hundreds of dollars for a
Oh,
unit.
you'd be screwed.
Like
And
it's
some of those
insane.
rare ones you'd never find.
It's
Well,
truly
A
insane.
good example is my dark elf witch elves.
Yeah.
Those things would go to $15-$20 a piece, and I got like 40 something of them all.
Yep.
Up.
Yeah.
And I was like,
no.
I can't imagine having to build that unit today.
Same here. I'm just like,
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling what those things go for.
Yeah, and I watch them actually sell. I mean, yeah, they're listed for those prices, but I watch them sell.
Yeah.
I bought some minis from GW for a game we played called "This Is Not a Test for Mutants," and so yeah, and I guess you can still. I don't know what they go for in their stores now. I know they've never been cheap, but I guess it's still reasonable to be able to go in and still get some.
It's kind of interesting. Is I'm painting new stuff. It's like all these, the 40K stuff. These Votan guys that I'm painting, they're brand new. But I didn't buy them. That's the nice thing.
That's a nice thing.
I get to paint them, but I don't buy it. I just look at how much the things go for, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I thought GW was expensive back when I was first buying my first GW models. Was in the 90s, and I remember, I didn't have any money, and I was like, I was buying Raw Partha stuff. They had their like Bob Ollie did. He had the goblins that he did for their armies line, and ogres and trolls he did. And I was buying those direct from Raw Partha because I was like, I can build a unit of goblins for, it was like half the price. And I kind of liked the style of them a little better anyway. But I remember then thinking, oh man, to build a fantasy army, I was doing the math, it was like, it's gonna be like over $300, which was beyond what I could justify, what I could spend at the time. And so I was buying all kinds of
looking at
stuff.
$250 just to get a box set.
And that's just your base. That isn't even like it's a base for a starter army is all you're getting.
Yeah.
Two sides.
Well,
it's not a full 1,000 point or 2,000 or anything.
Even if I looked at my Beskar, so I have only 20 painted, but out of my 50 Bestigor that I have, that are all like, there's 3 different poses, not including command, which are all different poses. It's basically 3 different poses. If I probably I got them, some of them brand new in a box, some of them painted and I had to strip them, and some of them in between, like, unpainted, but not in a box, whatever.
Yep.
I probably spent $200 for 50 of them, like over time. Over time, maybe less, maybe 150, 200, nothing, not insignificant. But now to even get them in groups of 10, or 20 or whatever, and not just as single models, I'm still thinking I probably would have to spend $400.
Yes.
In order to do that. And so it is significantly changing. Like, the prices are just going up. Like for the old stuff, it's continually going up. It's hard. You have to find local people that, like, I hate to say it, almost sounds bad, but that just are willing to sell for a reasonable price, or don't really know what they have. However, whichever way you like to describe it. But,
and they just want it gone. It's no skin. They just want it gone, and they're happy with the price.
They don't want to be walking down to the post office for one miniature at a time.
And at the end of the day, if they wanted $6, $5 for that miniature, and they could get 15, you wouldn't pay the 15 though, right? So I mean, it's always, this is what you could have got it for. Well, yeah, if you want to sit there and put it on eBay for 6 months, you might. Yeah. But if you just want it gone, then take your $5-8 or whatever and move on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it could be a lot longer than 6 months. Like it. Just
exactly. And then you got to argue with people. It's just, and
even just going down to the post office, packaging up like 20 individual miniatures and, going down to the post office 20 times,
and then hoping it gets there. Yeah. Just get them gone, hand them to a guy that and it's all good. Yeah.
Right.
Like I spent yesterday, I think it was 40 minutes standing in line at the post office.
Yeah, that's the wrong day to go there, Rusty. I'm just saying, buddy.
But the wife is like, here, you got to send that for me. It's like,
put your standing shoes on. Yep.
Oh, man.
Well, and you're talking to Palmer about, like eBay rescues, that's kind of rewarding in itself to me. And it's funny because a lot of times you can, I could buy like Bretonian spearmen and things like that they're all one-piece metal. So, but they're just painted, really just crappy, or maybe they're all chipped up and stuff, and
so they're still pro-painted though.
Yeah, they're all pro-painted, but it doesn't take much to usually get that paint scrubbed off, and you got a brand new miniature. And it's kind of fun to bring life back into them.
And you can get some good finds too. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's getting the old collectible miniatures is a bit of a
it's just a hobby in itself.
It's like I wanted to describe it like a pirate market, like, a treasure finding market where you're on the high seas and there are people that are willing to like completely take your hide if you want what they have. And you're also sometimes able to just like find something that people don't know what they have and they just are willing to give it to you for a really cheap, reasonable price. And so it really is like, how do I describe it? But it's like, it's all bets are off. Like, like you go in there and you just do what you can. And like, nobody goes in there and tells for somebody that's got a $5 Marauder Ogre, that normally goes for $50 to $70 now. Like nobody's going to say, I'm sorry, but I got to give you at least $40 for this. You have it up for sale for $5. Like there's nobody that does that. I mean, like you're going to buy it for what, if you can get it. And so, I had that experience where I actually bought a unit of goblins. Like I had some mixture of stuff and it was like nothing. It was all disjointed. Like people were just getting rid of like what they had. It was like 15 miniatures and they had 3 Marauder Ogres in there. And they each go for now $50 to $70.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's gotten colder up there again.
He froze.
He's frozen solid.
Oh, see, Mike. Well, we're waiting for him to come back.
I'm back. Okay.
Oh, there he is.
I think it's about time to call it, but I just I figured is this the way I'm going to end? Is this going to be the last of my existence
end of the year for you?
Yeah. But no, I got like 3 Marauder Ogres for like within a lot that was like $30, like with other stuff. Like it was insane. But yeah, that happens.
That's fair though. I mean, I've done that. I've sold stuff off the farm. I'm like, I know it's worth more, but like they're happy, and I don't know, it feels good too. Even if, and like you're saying, maybe somebody that doesn't know the difference, but they just want.
And I'd sold a totally different thing, but I've taken down my main coral like aquarium tank in my house, and I gave away stuff for much cheaper than what it's worth, and like I gave colonies away that people could break up into small parts and sell for a lot more. It's like the same idea.
It's karma, man. What goes around comes around, right?
That's true. That's true.
And also there's the time that you're saving yourself in the long run.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a matter too.
Just get it gone.
That's important.
And move on. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you're trying to make a business out of it, which some people do, and that's fine.
Yeah. Well, hey gentlemen, I have to get going, and
me too.
I got a lot less done than I thought I was going to tonight. I actually did bring out a new foil and clean water for my paint and everything for tonight, but I actually enjoyed the conversation so much that I felt like I didn't even need to get into it.
I thought I was going to paint too, but the conversation was good. I got time to paint by myself.
I was just looking at my my laptop here, saying it's minus 15 right now.
Oh, it's getting better.
Minus 15 Fahrenheit. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
that's about 27 Celsius.
Yeah, probably. Here it is actually. Trying to wonder what it eventually came to here. It's actually a little colder. It's negative 28 now. It was negative 27 when we were talking before, but yeah, it's about the same though.
Yeah, it's chilly. The big thing's the wind. If the wind would lay down, I don't mind it so much. But that wind was it was whipping today, and it was, you couldn't be out there too long with your face in the wind.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
walking
guys,
backwards a lot.
Yes. I hope everybody has a good Christmas, some time with family, and
Absolutely. And yeah, like Happy New Year, Merry Christmas,
yeah,
and
same to you
thanks
guys.
to everybody that joined us in the chat. We still have 4 people watching, it says. So thanks very much for everybody stopping by.
Yeah,
And
good to see everybody.
and we will be back in the new year.
Let's see, that will be the 5th or something like that.
Yeah, sounds about
be.
right.
Like
In
a
that area. It'll
paint
be
night.
over at Hell Corrects. We'll have to think about something for that show too. It was great. Dan was our first guest of the season for this season, and we'll have to bring on another guest at one point, maybe in the next show, maybe the one after, maybe the next show. Who knows?
There you go.
We'll
There you go.
do.
Works well.
Right. We'll see everybody later, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So it'll be a new year when we come back, and we'll see you again.
A new and improved year. All right. See you
All
guys.
right.
See you.
All right. Later.